Hello and welcome to Wellness Wednesday with Dianne, Parnell, and Becky Kehoe. And today we're going to talk a little bit about hormones, cortisol. Welcome back. We're excited to see you here in the new year, 2024.
Holy smokes, 2024. You know, it's funny. I was thinking about this the other night and thinking about like 2020, the 2000s, basically, when I was younger. I thought, I wonder if I'll still be alive like by 2025. I was like, well, here I am. 2 more years to go. I think it's a pretty good chance. But yeah, it's when you're young, you just don't kind of think of that stuff. You think like 2025. Oh my God. You know,
Exactly. Well,
but
yeah, and
yeah,
everybody who was in their 50s were ancient, right? When you're a
exactly.
kid. So, and like,
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. So,
yeah.
what are we going to talk about today, Becky?
So we talked a little bit about the cortisol and hormones. So Dianne, like, can you explain a little bit more about cortisol for us?
Okay. I'm actually learning how important cortisol is. So, I'm not an expert by any stretch of the imagination, but what I can tell you is how it affected me. So, I think I've told just about everybody that from the time I was born, I was sick. I had something going on all the time, either an upset stomach, which was always called nervous stomach, or headaches, like the whole gamut. I was always in pain, that kind of thing. And probably about 10 years ago, I guess it was, I could not, it didn't matter what I did. And we eat fairly healthy. I mean, we still go for junk food every once in a while. We don't eat at fast food restaurants, but like ice cream or whatever. And I just couldn't, the way we ate, I shouldn't have weighed what I did. And it was super frustrating for me. And I was just, I tried everything. Like I seriously did. I spent thousands of dollars on different supplements that were going to help me, that kind of thing. And I went to naturopath. I spent hundreds of dollars on a naturopath. It did nothing for me. And I'm not bashing naturopaths. I think they're amazing. What I want to let you know here is that it wasn't until I understood the relationship with cortisol and our hormones that I started to see results. I went to a few people and they said, keep a diary of what you eat. So I did. And they would look at that and they'd go, well, you shouldn't weigh what you do. And it's like, exactly. But
Mhm.
nobody could give me any answers. And it was really frustrating.
Yeah.
So down the road, I started doing a course on a master course on functional. It was taught by a functional medicine doctor, and he started talking about cortisol,
Oh,
and
yeah.
he started talking about the gut brain connection and the adrenals and the vagus nerve. And the very first thing that tweaked me was you hear a lot of talk about adrenal fatigue.
Yeah.
And what he said is that it's not fatigue. Our adrenals are getting the wrong messages through the gut brain connection and the vagus nerve, the adrenal, all of those hormones. And cortisol level is a huge one because that's our fight or flight, right?
Mhm.
So once I understood that, um, I was on my way. So through
Okay.
a lot of research, I've like we eat fairly healthy over Christmas, not so much, but we're back on that. So I think the most important thing for me was our diet, which is mostly Mediterranean, so lots of vegetables. I don't eat fish, so that was a real struggle for me, and I wasn't sure how to balance that. But I have to tell you that it all comes back to our gut. Our gut, what we put in our mouth directly affects our whole body system, our hormones, our gut health, our bowels, our pancreas, spleen, like everything. It's not just, oh, here, take a pill, you're going to get better. It doesn't work that way because cortisol, I lived in a state of fight or flight for most of my life, and I'm 66. So I would say, well, I'm going to say 65 years
Hmm.
because the
So,
last year I've really worked hard on those cortisol levels.
so Dianne,
So
like,
yeah, you got a question?
yeah, some people, have really high success with certain foods like meat only, meat and vegetables sort of thing as their primary diet. So you're saying Mediterranean's better for you. How do
They,
people figure that out?
it's just research that people have done. And Mediterranean, when you think about it, it's meat, but it's only a fist size.
Mhm.
Like it's not the big 64-ounce steak that, some people eat a lot of protein and they don't need that much protein. So it's just altering the ways that you're eating now, a lot more vegetables. And we were just discussing this over Christmas because we have our traditions, right?
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
so we always have turnip, we always have sweet potato, potatoes, vegetables, and then all the stuff that goes with the stuffing and the turkey.
Yeah.
We get in a rut where those are the only vegetables we eat. So how often do you eat carrots, peas, corn, broccoli, cauliflower? And that's sort of our staple. So with the Mediterranean diet, what I learned was to start eating at least 30 to 50 different types of vegetables.
Okay.
Now, I've looked in the grocery stores and I'm going to say that I don't think we have 50 different kinds,
No.
but there's definitely a variety. Like, we just have to start adding in different things and trying different things. I'm looking for purple sweet potatoes. So if anybody knows where you can get some, please let me know because I apparently they're one of the healthiest vegetables out there is the purple um, sweet potato. And I asked at one of the grocery stores, and the young girl that I was talking to said they get them sometimes, but they're extremely expensive. So I'm going to
Mhm.
go on a hunt in Vernon to the superstore because I think the superstore has a really good variety of that. But I think it's just getting out of the rut of just eating meat and potatoes and vegetables.
Right.
Vary it up. Salads, you can put all kinds of stuff in your salads. So, and not beat yourself up over it.
Mhm.
So if you eat healthy for a week or whatever, and then you're with someone and they want to go to Tim Hortons or McDonald's, wherever it is, go do that. But just understand how that's affecting your body over the long term. Does that
Right.
make sense?
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, I mean there's a billion different sort of food diets or ways in which you can view food out there. So
Yeah.
I don't know if there's any right or wrong, but there is for you personally.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know, myself, I couldn't eat a high meat diet. It's just not something that that
Oh,
my
I can't
would love.
either. Yeah. It's
But some
interesting.
people are so successful on the high meat diet and of course, getting off the starches and etc.
Yeah. I often wonder though that they're successful on it, but for how long and what's happening inside their body. I mean, if you did you ever read the book Eat Right for Your Blood Type?
No, no, no.
That was a really good book for me because what it did is I never liked meat when I was growing up as a kid, and for me to eat meat, I had to slather it in ketchup.
Mhm,
So that should have been my first clue that I had to doctor it up in order to just get it in my mouth.
mhm.
So, and reading that book, I discovered that I'm an A blood type, and we are one of the only blood types, apparently, so the book says, that can be a vegetarian. Although I do sometimes, really want a steak, so I eat it.
Yeah.
I think one of the biggest problems with our weight is that we restrict ourselves and we jump into all these different diets and things, and they're not healthy for us because think about that. You lose the weight, you get to your ideal weight, and what happens? As soon as you stop eating the way you were, the weight comes back and adds a few more pounds.
Mhm. Yeah.
So that tells me right there that we're not doing something right. And I
Right.
think anytime, and this is my own opinion, so I'm
Yeah, for
talking
sure. I
off the
mean,
cuff
there's so
here.
much out there. It's amazing to
Yeah,
learn
there's
more.
so many things out there, so I don't even go on diets. I just I do my best to watch what I'm putting in my body. For years, probably over 25, 26 years, I've been really careful about what I do put in my body and not just in food, but what I put on my body as well. So skincare, cosmetics, like your makeup, um, lotions, potions, all that kind of stuff, because our skin is the largest organ of our body. So we're absorbing all of that, all
Right.
the chemicals. all the preservatives into our body, and that's what starts messing with our hormones. My friends don't like me because I shouldn't say they don't like me, but I never had hot flashes ever. And I didn't know why. Like my cycle stopped and that was it. I was done. And it was wonderful. And just talking through different people through the training that I've been in, apparently that's not normal, having hot flashes and the real horrible menopause symptoms.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't proved it, but I know for me it was a breeze. And I know a lot of people who are fairly healthy in what they eat, and they've had the hormone symptoms. So I don't know if that's,
Yeah.
I'm not versed that well in hormones to know if that is an actual effect. But I do know that when you stop putting all those endocrine disruptors, is what the skincare and stuff is, your body changes.
Yeah, I
And
was
so
on a
go ahead.
I was on a call all about hormones and menopause and etc. And menopause is not really a thing in tropical areas.
Exactly.
Quite often it has a lot to do with vitamin D, how we absorb all those vitamin C's, D's, and all
Yeah.
that fun stuff. So I'm sure that there's different awarenesses and responses in our body, especially in the northern regions, sorry, because we don't absorb the same, minerals. We don't have the fresh vegetables, etc.
Exactly. Yeah. What I've understood, was watching a program, and I don't remember the name of it, but this fellow goes all over the world seeing where people live the longest.
Mm-hmm.
And actually one of them was way up north where they ate a lot of fat
Yeah.
from whales and whatever else they eat up there. And they were actually very healthy. So I think it depends too on, I was always taught to eat by our region.
Yeah.
So think about that, how much produce we get shipped in here that isn't local.
Mm-hmm.
And I was also taught to eat like our ancestors did 100 years ago. No preservatives. They ate bread, they ate potatoes. Lots of them lived on potatoes because that's all they had in their
Yeah.
gardens, right? And they
Yeah.
hunted and they
Yeah.
fished.
Cabbage, carrots, potatoes.
So I just, yeah, yeah, they grew their own vegetables, they grew their own wheat, ground their own wheat, made their own bread. I mean, I'm not telling you to go back and be a pioneer, but we can do it quite easily nowadays.
Yeah.
um yeah, it's just, I think the biggest thing is just really understanding the damage that a lot of our food choices and our skincare products, shampoos, dish soaps, all of that stuff, they all contain things that are hormone disruptors or endocrine disruptors. So you may have heard about something called body burden. And what body burden is when you use those things with chemicals in them, you might think, oh, it's just a little bit, or, oh, I just went to a fast food restaurant and had, but I don't do it often. The thing is those things accumulate in our body over time, a
Mm-hmm.
little and a little. It's kind of like now I'm aging myself, like the Breck commercial,
Yeah.
and so on and so on and so on.
Yeah.
That's what happens in our body, and it stores in our body. And then we get into crisis, like I was in with the belly fat for the women.
Mm-hmm.
There's all kinds of things that go on with men. It's I don't know. So how do we fix this? I think
Yeah.
biggest thing for me is education.
Mm-hmm.
Just learn all you can. We're bombarded with commercials all the time. Buy this, buy that, because it's so, oh my gosh, it's wonderful. But is it really? Take a look at your ingredients. And there's lots of different choices out there now
Mm-hmm.
that aren't harmful to our body.
I know with those like the little sticks that you get for measuring how much carbs and sugar are in your urine. It takes 3 days. Like if you were to eat cookies and refined chemicals or all that
Yeah,
fun stuff, it takes 3 days for that to get out of your system. So it's interesting,
exactly.
like what you were saying over and over and over, and it just repeats that response in the body. So,
Yeah, exactly.
taking away the sugar for 3 days, by the third day, you're actually starting to heal that process, that gut bacteria.
Exactly. Yeah. And
Mhm.
it's just being aware of those kinds of things. So when you're eating that cookie, you can still eat it, but just be aware of the effect that it's having on your body. So when you
Mhm.
go to reach for the second, third, fourth, fifth cookie, you might go,
Yeah.
maybe not so
The
much.
problem I have is I'm like, oh, I already ruined that. So I'm just going to eat this and this and this today, and then I'll start over in 3 days. But
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
yeah, to find the
And
balance.
you know what?
Absolutely.
We're human. We're human.
Yeah.
And we use food as entertainment. I mean, we go out for dinner.
Yeah.
So I think the biggest thing is don't beat yourself up over it. If,
Hmm.
like I said, if you're following a healthy plan and you fall off the wagon, just
Yeah.
get back on it.
That's
You
right.
know, don't sit there and go, oh my God, I just ruined my diet because I ate a cookie. No, you didn't. You
Yeah.
just ate a cookie,
Yeah. So
you
everybody
know?
out there, just be kind to yourself. I mean, we're over the
Exactly.
holidays, it's part of our love and the way that we communicate with each other, eating the turkeys and the pies and sharing all those experiences from
Exactly.
you've learned, like you learned how to make the pie with grandma. So it's all part of that.
Yeah, it is for sure. One thing I want to touch on too is with supplements.
Mhm.
Like a lot of people are taking supplements and they don't know why they're taking supplements.
Right.
And one of the things I've learned about that is when our body isn't working properly, we're not absorbing those supplements properly either.
Hmm.
So, and I worked in a health food store for a while.
Right.
And and I was one of those people searching for my health. I was buying every supplement I could and they weren't working, or they'd work for a month or two and then they wouldn't work anymore. And I
Yeah.
could never figure that out. And what I learned is because our body wasn't absorbing them properly, my
Right.
body wasn't absorbing them properly. So I was I was searching. I was looking for something that was going to, and I was looking for instant gratification. I
Right.
wanted something quick and fast that was going to take care of everything. But we also have to understand it has taken us a long time to get to where we are. So, if for me, I was sick from the day I was born, I
Yes.
didn't start to get healthy until I was in my late 30s. So, you have to think about that. There's, say, 35, 36 years of ill health, putting things in my body that
Hmm.
I wasn't aware were harming me. So it's taken me that time to get my body to a point where now it's actually healing. And the more I learn about that, I mean, I've lowered my cholesterol, or not my cholesterol, my cortisol levels. And I'm telling you, it's changed my world because I'm not always like this. And I'm not
Hmm.
always running. I was always on super speed motion. I always blamed that on my dad, but now I realize no, it wasn't at all. It was my cortisol levels because that's your fight or flight. You got to
Yeah.
go. You got to get it done.
Gotta get going. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah. So.
those are just some tips. And
Mm.
you know, as much as there's crappy information on the internet, there's also really good information too. And you kind of
Mhm.
have to weed through it and take a look at what you're doing and reach out. Like if you have questions, I will help you in any way I can.
Mhm.
I'm not a medical expert, but I have done a lot of training and a lot of find a lot of information for my own health. And
Right.
so if there's any way I can help you, I'm more than happy to do that.
Perfect. Yeah, and just being aware that we have to always heal all of the bodies, the emotional, mental, physical, and spiritual,
Exactly.
and keep on track of each one and not just concentrate on the one. So
Yeah.
perfect.
That's perfect. I'm glad you ended with that because our body is whole. Chinese medicine, they look at our body as a whole unit. So if something's going on with your stomach, you start digging to find out where it started.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, thanks for
Awesome.
coming out and joining Diane and I today, and we
Yeah,
will see you next Wednesday.
we sure will. And thanks so much. I hope you had a wonderful Christmas and all the best to everybody in the new year.
Wonderful.
Bye.